The Valerian Dominion was the most powerful empire in the galaxy. For more than 2,000 years, they had conquered world after world. 127 planets had already fallen before them. No army had ever stopped them. No species had ever fought them twice. Wherever the Valorians arrived, fear followed, and surrender came quickly. Their ships were huge, dark, and shaped like blades. Their soldiers were tall, armored creatures with 4 arms and skin like steel. They believed that no one in the universe could challenge them. And they were right, until they found a small blue planet called Earth. It began with a strange signal. A weak radio transmission traveled across deep space and reached a Valerian listening station. At first, the message sounded old and damaged. Most of the audio was broken. But then, one clear sentence played to the speakers. "If you hear this, do not come here. You will not survive us." The Valerian scientists replayed the message again and again. They tried to translate it. When they finally did, they laughed. The idea that a young, primitive world was warning them sounded like a joke. The Valerian High Council met to discuss the signal. 12 leaders stood around a floating hollow map of the Milky Way. "A threat?" one counselor asked, confused. "From a species that has not even left its solar system?" Another added. "It must be an accident," a third said. "A simple radio noise." But the Empire's Supreme Commander, Aarkin Vos, was not amused. "No species warns the Dominion. No one speaks to us with fearlessness. We will go to this planet. We will show them the meaning of power." He sent a fleet to investigate, 20 heavy battleships and 2 command cruisers. It was more than enough to conquer a world like Earth. But something went wrong. The moment the fleet entered the solar system, all contact was lost. No messages, no distress calls, no wreckage found drifting in space. The ships had simply vanished. This had never happened in Valerian history. The High Council started to worry. A second, larger fleet was prepared. 50 battleships, 6 carriers, over 30,000 elite soldiers. This time, Commander Voss himself went with them. As the fleet approached Earth, everyone waited for answers. The humans did not send any signals. The planet looked peaceful from far away. Blue oceans, white clouds, green land. There was nothing that looked dangerous. Nothing that explained the missing fleet. But the silence felt wrong. When the second fleet entered orbit, scanners picked up strange activity. Human satellites watched them closely. Something on the planet's surface was tracking them, but the system could not identify it. Commander Voss stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring down at Earth. "A simple world," he said. "They still burn fuel. They still fight with metal weapons. They cannot harm us." His officers agreed. To them, Earth looked primitive. Its cities were small compared to other galactic civilizations. Its energy sources looked weak. Its defenses looked almost childish. But before the Valorians could begin their landing, a soft beep echoed through the ship. A message appeared on the main screen, written in simple English. "Turn back." The bridge fell silent. The Valerian officers stared at the words. Not a greeting, not a request, a warning. Commander Voss felt insulted. "Open a channel," he ordered. But before they could send anything, the message changed. "This is your only warning. No sender name. No frequency origin." It looked like the humans were inside the Valerian network, something that should have been impossible. "How did they access our systems?" an officer asked. "No species has ever hacked our tech," said another. Voss growled. "Begin landing operations. I want ground forces deployed." 12 dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere. The alien soldiers inside were confident. They expected panic, fear, surrender. They expected the humans to run and hide. Instead, something strange happened. One by one, the dropships went silent. They reported landing in a forest, but after the first 5 minutes, they stopped sending updates. No screams, no battle sounds, just silence, quiet and sudden. Commander Voss demanded answers. More scanners were activated. More drones were sent. But the drones vanished the moment they entered the forest. Now the Valorians were confused. Nothing on Earth should have the ability to block their technology. A loud alarm rang. "Commander, we're being watched," an officer shouted. The main screen flickered. For a moment, static covered the display. Then an image appeared, a human face. Calm, expressionless, eyes staring directly at them. A simple digital voice spoke. "You should not have come." Every Valerian in the bridge froze. The human looked ordinary, normal, not threatening. And yet something in his voice made even the strongest soldiers feel a cold fear. Commander Voss stepped forward. "Identify yourself." The human did not answer. He only repeated the message slowly, like a warning written in stone. "This planet is not weak. This species is not what you think. Turn back if you still can." The screen went dark, and in that moment, the Valorians finally felt something they had not felt in centuries. Uncertainty. Fear. Because for the first time ever, the hunters felt like prey. The Valerian flagship was silent after the strange human message. Every officer on the bridge looked tense. No one dared to speak. The human face that appeared on their screen felt more dangerous than any weapon they had ever seen. It wasn't because the man looked strong. It was because he looked calm. Commander Aarken Voss finally broke the silence. "Humans are trying to scare us," he said. "They want to appear powerful. It is a trick. We will crush them." But deep inside, even Voss felt something he had never felt before. Doubt. He turned to his officers. "Send 3 more landing teams. Heavily armed. I want answers." 6 more dropships left the fleet and entered Earth's atmosphere. The Valorians expected resistance, maybe some primitive weapons. Instead, what happened made the entire fleet uneasy. All 6 dropships landed successfully on different parts of Earth. They reported normal conditions for the first few minutes. Then the strange things began. "Commander Voss," one officer said nervously, "we are receiving a request from Landing Team 7. They say—" Before he could finish, the signal cut off. Another signal came through. Team 9 requesting. Silence. One by one, all 6 landing teams went dark. No sounds. No battles. No explosions. Just sudden, clean silence. It was impossible. Nothing in Valerian history, no enemy, no world, had ever erased their soldiers so quietly. Commander Voss stared at the dark screens. This is impossible. Humans cannot defeat Valerian soldiers. But something in his voice sounded uncertain. Then another alarm rang. "Commander, someone is inside our network again." The bridge screen flickered and replaced all data with a single sentence written in plain English. "Stop sending soldiers. They will not return." The Valerian officers felt a chill. Whoever was sending these messages was inside the most secure system in the galaxy. "How? How can they hack us?" an officer whispered. "No species has this ability." Voss slammed his fist into the console. "Trace the signal." "We can't," the officer replied. "The signal is bouncing around our own systems. It looks like it's coming from inside the ship and from Earth at the same time." This was not normal hacking. This was something else. Something far more dangerous. Hook inside Part 2. Before the Valorians could respond, all the lights on the flagship flickered. The engines hummed strangely. Something unseen moved through their ship systems. A new message appeared, this time with a human voice instead of text. "We know you are afraid. You should be." The voice was calm, steady, and cold. It was the same voice from the earlier transmission. Commander Voss roared, "Show yourself." "Not yet," the voice answered. "But you will see us soon." The message ended, and the lights returned to normal. The Valorians were shaken. They had fought psychic species telepaths, biomass creatures, but none of those enemies had ever reached inside their flagship and spoken to them directly. Voss needed answers. "Send reconnaissance drones," he ordered. "I want visuals from Earth." Hundreds of small drones were launched. They moved fast, scanning forests, cities, oceans. But as soon as they approached the areas where the dropships had landed, the screens turned to static. The signals vanished. The drones disappeared. Commander Voss clenched his teeth. What is happening on that planet? Before anyone could answer, The ship's AI spoke up. "Commander, we have detected a new transmission coming from Earth." "Play it," Voss ordered. The screen brightened, showing a simple image. A human soldier, carrying a strange device on his back. He stood in the forest where the first Valerian team had landed, but something was wrong. The soldier was surrounded by shimmering distortion in the air. A field, a cloak, a technology the Valorians had never seen. The soldier looked up directly at the drone, recording him. Then he smiled. The screen cut to black. "Pause!" Voss shouted. "Replay that frame." The image froze. The human soldier wore armor unlike anything on Earth. Smooth, sleek, advanced. More advanced than Valerian armor. "How can a pre-space species have this?" An officer gasped. Another officer zoomed in on the strange distortion field. "It seems to bend light. It hides heat. It hides movement. Commander, this is stealth tech far better than ours." The bridge filled with whispers. Fear was spreading. Commander Voss growled. "Humans could not create this. Someone must be helping them." "No," the ship's AI interrupted. "Analysis complete. The technology appears to be human-made." Everyone turned toward the screen in disbelief. Humans had created something that even the most powerful empire could not counter. Then the AI spoke again. "Commander, we have a new problem." "What now?" Voss demanded. "Something is approaching the fleet." The officers looked at the scanners. A fast-moving object was rising from Earth's surface, heading straight toward orbit. "What is that?" "A missile." The AI zoomed in. "No, it is a human ship." The Valerian bridge froze. "That cannot be," Voss whispered. "Humans do not have space warships." But the scanner showed it clearly, a small, dark craft with no heat signature and no engine trail. It was coming straight toward them. Fast. Too fast. The alarm blared. "Commander, the human ship has locked onto us." And then it vanished from their scanners. The same way their dropships did. The same way their drones did. The same way their first fleet did. For the first time in the history of the Valerian Dominion, Commander Voss felt real fear. For the first time in his life, Commander Aarken Voss felt something new. The fear of the unknown. A whole empire, the strongest in the galaxy, could not explain one simple question. We're humans. And worse, why were they not afraid? Inside the Valerian flagship, the bridge was filled with confusion. Officers rushed from screen to screen, trying to understand how a primitive species had erased dropships, destroyed drones, and launched a stealth ship that vanished like smoke. The mystery grew heavier by the second. Commander Voss paced across the command deck. "I want everything we know about humans. Now, all of it." His top intelligence officer, Siren Tau, nodded nervously. "We are compiling their history, Commander, but you will not like what we found." "Show me," Voss said. The lights dimmed. A giant hologram appeared, showing Earth in its long timeline. The Valerian officers watched in silence as human history played across the projection. At first, Voss was confused. "This is chaos." The hologram showed humans fighting each other for thousands of years. Wars, revolutions, uprisings, endless conflict. Different nations, different weapons, different eras. But one thing was the same. Humans had never stopped fighting. Not against others. Not against nature. Not against impossible odds. Siren Tal zoomed into different ages. "Commander, humans have fought world wars. They have destroyed their own cities. They have used fire, metal, chemicals, machines." He paused, and they kept getting stronger every time. The officers stared at the screen, shocked. Most species stopped progressing after one deadly war. Most species feared destruction. Most species avoided conflict. But humans evolved through it. They learned. They adapted. They changed. They improved. The hologram zoomed into major human disasters: earthquakes, floods, plagues, asteroid scares, world-ending threats. Yet every time humanity almost died, it came back stronger than before. One officer whispered, "They do not break. They rebuild." Another added, "They do not fear death, they challenge it." Commander Voss gripped the railing tightly. "How can a species survive so many disasters?" he demanded. Siren Tau responded quietly. "They survive because they refuse to give up. No other species has this level of adaptation." The commander stared at Earth with new eyes. Humans were not strong because of technology. Humans were strong because of their nature. This made them the most dangerous kind of enemy. The intelligence report continued. "Commander," the officer said, "humans change faster than any species we have studied." "How fast?" Voss asked. The officer swallowed. "They progress more in 100 years than some species do in 10,000. That was impossible, but the data confirmed it. In just 1 century, humans had gone from simple guns to computers, satellites, and nuclear weapons. In another century, they created advanced stealth systems, energy shields, and orbital defenses. Humans were not primitive. Humans were simply quiet. They kept their real power hidden. They let the galaxy think they were weak. And now the Valorians had stepped on a sleeping giant suddenly. The screen flickered again. Another message from humans appeared, but this time it was a video. A human woman in a black uniform stood in front of a glowing map. Her eyes were calm. Her posture was steady. "I am Commander Hale of the Terran Defense Network," she said. "You have invaded our world. You destroyed our coasts. You killed our people." Her voice never cracked. No anger, no fear, only control. "You think we are weak," she continued. "You think we are primitive. You think we cannot fight you." She leaned closer to the camera. "You are wrong." The video ended. The bridge fell dead silent. Commander Voss could hear his own breathing. Humans had leaders. Humans had armies. Humans had plans. And worst of all, humans were prepared for the Valorians. Fear spreads across the flagship. Siren Tau looked pale. "Commander," he said slowly, "we believe the human predicted an alien invasion long ago. They trained for it. They built technology for it. Their defense systems were not made for enemies on Earth. They were made for enemies from space." "That is impossible," Voss whispered. But the evidence was clear. The human stealth soldier, the disappearing dropships, the hidden technology, the instant hacking. Humans were not reacting. Humans were waiting. An alarm suddenly screamed across the ship. Lights flashed red. "Commander!" an officer shouted. "You must see this." A new object was rising from Earth's surface. Not one ship, not a craft, not a drone. A fleet. 13 human warships were launching into space. Fast, silent, invisible to scanners. The AI spoke in a flat voice. "Commander, these ships were hidden underground. They are designed for war in space, specifically against invaders." Voss felt his heart pound. The humans planned for us before they even knew we existed. And at that moment, every officer on the flagship realized the truth. Humanity was not the prey. Humanity was the predator that had finally been awakened. The Valerian fleet had one rule for every invasion: strike first, strike fast, end the enemy before they understand what is happening. But this time, something impossible happened. Humanity struck first, and they struck in a way no Valerian had ever seen. Commander Aarkin Voss stood frozen on the bridge of his flagship as 13 human warships rose from Earth like silent shadows. They had no heat trail, no bright engines, no loud signals. They rose quietly like predators hunting in the dark. An officer shouted, "Commander, they're moving fast, too fast." "How fast?" Voss demanded. "Faster than our interceptors, faster than anything we have ever recorded." The fleet began to panic. No enemy had ever moved faster than Valerian ships. Until now. The 13 human ships reached orbit in seconds. They took formation, 3 in front, 5 in the center, 5 in the back. The pattern looked simple. But then the ship's AI made a discovery. "Commander, this formation is not random. It is a trap formation." "A trap?" Voss asked. "Yes, they are not attacking. They are controlling the battlefield." The Valerian bridge went silent. No conquered species had ever tried to control space before. No one had the courage. But humans did. Without warning, the three front human ships disappeared. Not cloaked, not turned invisible. They simply vanished from scanners. Find them? Voss shouted. We can't, the officers cried. Our systems cannot track them. Then, boom, boom, boom. 3 Valerian battleships exploded instantly. No warning, no energy signatures, no weapon trails. It was as if invisible blades cut through them. The explosions lit up the darkness of space. Fire spread across broken hulls. Bodies and metal drifted into the void. The entire bridge shook. What hit us? An officer yelled. But no one knew. Commander Voss clenched his fists. Humans are using stealth tech we cannot detect. The AI agreed. These ships bend light, energy, heat, even gravity. This technology is far beyond Valerian design. Every officer felt their stomach sink. Humans were not only strong, they were more advanced. Suddenly, a message opened on every Valerian screen. The same calm human woman appeared, Commander Hale. I gave you a warning, she said. You ignored it. Her voice was emotionless. You attacked our planet. You hurt our people. So now we answer. She didn't shout. She didn't threaten. She simply stated facts. And that made it even more terrifying. The video ended. And the human ships attacked again. 0.5 more Valerian ships were destroyed. Not by large explosions, but by perfect hits to engines, reactors, weak points. Humans didn't fire wildly. They didn't waste energy. They hit only the places that mattered. Commander Voss finally understood. These are not primitive fighters, he said. These are trained warriors. Experts. And they studied our technology before we even arrived. His officers exchanged fearful looks. How can they know our weak points? One officer asked. They learn fast, another whispered. Too fast. Voss tried to regain control. All ships. Focus fire on the center human formation. Hundreds of Valerian cannons fired at the 5 middle human ships. Bright beams of energy lit up space. Explosions shook the dark. But when the light faded, the human ships were untouched. The Valorians stared in shock. Human ships had shields, transparent, smooth, thin, but unbelievably strong. The entire fleet's firepower did nothing. It deflected everything, an officer whispered. Commander Voss growled. Impossible. But it was not impossible. It was happening right in front of them. The 5 front human ships returned, appearing out of nowhere. They moved faster than Valerian sensors could track. They cut through the fleet, like blades cutting paper. Valerian ships exploded one after another. The screams of dying soldiers filled the comm channels. The fleet was falling apart. Panic grew. This is not a battle. We are being hunted, an officer cried. And he was right. Humans were not fighting with numbers. They were fighting with intelligence, planning, and perfect strikes. They had turned the Valerian fleet into prey. For the first time, Commander Voss felt powerless. He turned to his officers. Send a message to Earth. We will negotiate. But, Commander, do it, Voss roared. Humans had defeated them so quickly he had no choice left. Minutes later, a reply came. Commander Hale appeared again. Her expression was cold. You want peace now, she asked. After you invaded us? Voss struggled to speak. We request a ceasefire. Hale's eyes hardened. No. Voss froze. No, he repeated. You attacked our home, Hale said. You killed our people. Surrender is your only choice. The screen cut off. Hale had given her answer. There would be no negotiation, no mercy, no escape. Suddenly, the ship's AI spoke again. Commander, the remaining human ships are powering their main cannons. Voss felt his heart drop. How many? All 13. The humans were about to fire their strongest weapons. And the Valerian fleet, the strongest fleet in the galaxy, could do nothing. Commander Voss whispered, What are humans? The AI responded, Commander, they're the most dangerous species we have ever encountered. And then, the human cannons fired. The Valerian Dominion had ruled the galaxy for 2,000 years. They crushed every world. They silenced every rebellion. They believed nothing could ever break them, but it took only one enemy, humanity, to shatter everything. And the fall of the Empire began not in battle, but in fear. The 13 human warships fired their main cannons. Bright beams of white-blue light smashed through the Valerian fleet. The beams didn't explode like normal weapons. Instead, they cut through metal like melting ice. 9 more Valerian ships were destroyed in seconds. Commander Aarkin Voss held onto the railing as the bridge shook violently. The alarm screamed. Fire burst from broken panels. Officers fell to the floor. The unstoppable fleet of the Dominion was dying. How are they so strong? An officer cried. No one had the answer. The battle was being broadcast across several Valorian control worlds. People watched in disbelief as the great warships of the Dominion fell one by one. On distant planets, small species who lived under Valerian rule whispered, "The Empire is losing. It cannot be. Who are these humans?" For 2,000 years, the galaxy had feared the Dominion. Now they saw the Empire bleed. And when an empire bleeds, its people begin to rise. Back in space, 5 human ships broke formation and jumped into hyperspace, not toward Valerian space stations, but deeper toward the heart of the Empire. Commander Voss heard the report. Humans are sending ships into our territory. He couldn't believe it. Humans were not just defending Earth. They were attacking back, aggressively, fearlessly, and they were winning. The human ships arrived at Valerian slave worlds, planets that had been controlled for centuries. When the humans landed, they did not conquer. They did not demand tribute. They did not ask for loyalty. Instead, they said 6 simple words. Stand. Fight. We will help you. For thousands of enslaved species, it was the first time anyone had spoken to them as equals. The effect was explosive. Across the galaxy, rebellions began. On the planets of Vora, the people tore down Valerian banners. On the moon Ural, workers seized weapons from their masters. On the desert world Credos, an entire army switched sides. Everywhere, species who once feared the Dominion now saw a new symbol. Humans, the species that defeated the unstoppable Empire. A message came through. It was Commander Hale again. Her voice was quiet, cold, final. "You attacked a peaceful species," she said. "You brought war to our home. Now your empire must answer." Commander Voss fell to his knees. "There will be no empire," he said. "Not after this." Hale nodded once. "Good." The transmission ended. The 20 new human warships opened fire. The remaining Valerian ships were wiped out in less than 2 minutes. The flagship took heavy damage. Fire spread across the deck. Officers shouted in panic. "Commander, we must abandon ship. We cannot. Everything is collapsing. We have to escape." But Commander Voss did not move. His eyes were locked on Earth. "We never understood them," he said quietly. "We believed humanity was weak. But humans," he swallowed hard, "humans are something else." He closed his eyes as the ship exploded. The Valerian flagship, the pride of the Empire, was gone. Across the galaxy, every species heard the same message broadcast from Earth. "This is humanity. We do not conquer. We do not enslave. But if you attack us, we will end you." And as the word spread, the Valerian Empire, the greatest power in the galaxy, finally collapsed. But humanity's job was not finished, because now the galaxy wanted something from them. Leadership, protection, a new order. And some species did not want to bow. They thought humans were finished. They thought the war was won. But the universe didn't know one simple truth. Humanity fights hardest when everything is almost lost. The last battle had begun. General Aya stood inside the command center of the hidden human base, deep under the burned surface of old Earth. The room shook again as another alien blast struck the planetary shield. Engineers held on to their desks. Screens flickered. Warning sirens echoed through the air. But despite all this, Aya's eyes were calm. She looked at the hologram in front of her. 3 alien dreadnoughts orbiting Earth, each big enough to crush cities with one strike. The Zorth Empire had arrived to end humanity once and forever. Aya whispered, "They think we are cornered." Her second-in-command, Malik, replied, "We are, General." Aya smiled slightly. "Good. Then they cannot imagine what we are about to do." Outside, the sky flashed red as the enemy continued firing. Huge beams of white plasma tore through the clouds. Even from underground, it felt like the world was shaking apart. Malik asked, "Is the last device ready?" "Yes," Aya said. "This is the moment." She turned and looked at the small group behind her. Scientists, soldiers, pilots, all tired, all wounded, but all still standing. Every single one of them waited for her words. Aya said, "Today, we will show them why nobody should make humanity their enemy." A quiet silence filled the room. Then she gave the order, "Activate Project Horizon." Deep below the base, giant engines awakened. Blue light exploded across the floor as the most powerful human creation ever built prepared for launch. It was not a bomb, not a weapon, not a ship. It was something no alien empire had seen before. A dimensional wave engine, something that could rewrite the battlefield in seconds. Above Earth, inside the Zor flagship, Commander Vrylock felt something strange, an energy spike rising from the human planet. He stood from his throne and stared at the glowing readings. "Impossible," he growled. "They should have no power left." His officers panicked. "Commander, the human energy signature, it's merging with subspace." Vrylock roared, "Fire everything." The dreadnoughts unleashed their full power. Beams of white fire hit Earth's shield, cracking it like glass. Light spread across the atmosphere. Back in the bunker, Malik shouted, "Shields failing." Aya answered, "Then we launch now." The entire planet vibrated as Project Horizon fired. A massive wave of blue energy shot upward from underground, passing through stone, metal, and air as if they were not there. It rose into the sky like a rising sun, bright, pure, unstoppable. The Zord dreadnoughts fired again, but the blue wave swallowed the beams like water swallowing sparks. Aya whispered, "And this is where the stars go silent." In space, the blue wave struck the alien ships. For a moment, everything froze. No movement, no sound, no lights. Then, thwump, every Zord ship lost power at the same time. Engines died, weapons melted, shields collapsed. The huge dreadnoughts drifted helplessly in orbit like dead metal whales. Commander Vrylock tried to stand, but the gravity failed. His throne floated. Lights flickered and went dark. What is this?" he shouted. A human voice answered through his communicator, calm and cold. "This is humanity, and we told you we are not prey." Vrylock's heart froze. His officers stared at one another in fear. The humans had done the impossible. Again, back on Earth, cheers exploded inside the base. Engineers jumped and hugged each other. Soldiers cried. Malik fell to his knees, laughing with relief. But Aya remained quiet. Malik finally asked, "General, we did it. Why do you look worried?" Aya said softly, "Because this is only the beginning." Malik blinked. "What do you mean?" She pointed at the map. Blue markers lit up in dozens of sectors across the galaxy. The Zorth Empire's collapsing. Their ships are dead. Their communications broken. Their worlds unprotected. Malik's eyes widened. "You think they will surrender?" Aya shook her head. "No, they will panic. And a panicked empire is dangerous." She turned to her team. "Prepare the fleet. We move out. Humanity will not wait for the next attack. We end this war on our terms." Hours later, Earth's underground hangars opened for the first time in years. Human ships, black, fast, and redesigned with Horizon technology, launched into the sky. Thousands of them, rising from the shadows like a storm of silent arrows. Aya stood in her command ship, staring at the stars. "For centuries, they conquered every world," she said. "But now their fear begins." Malik asked, "What should we tell the galaxy?" Aya looked ahead as the fleet jumped into hyperspace. "Tell them the truth," she said. "Humanity is coming. The Zorth Empire once ruled thousands of worlds. But now, For the first time in history, they were afraid of humans. The message spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Humanity is coming. In the cold halls of the Zorth High Council, fear rippled through the air. For centuries, no enemy had ever pushed the Zorth to retreat. They were the conquerors, the destroyers, the unbreakable colossus of the stars. But today, their empire trembled. The 11 council members sat at a long, black stone table. Each of them watched the holograms floating in the room, images of disabled dreadnoughts, screaming officers, failed weapons, dead engines. The blue wave from Project Horizon had turned their strongest fleet into floating junk. Counselor Rithik, the oldest of the Zorth leaders, slammed his claw on the table. This is impossible. Humans should have no power left. Another counselor hissed, then explained how they shut down every ship in Sector 9. Silence filled the room. Then the door opened. Commander Vrylock floated in, still wearing the damaged armor from his disabled flagship. His eyes were dark with shame and something else. Fear. Rithik glared. Commander, you face the humans directly. Tell us the truth. Vrylock swallowed. The truth, he said slowly, is that humans fight like no other species. They adapt. They learn. They build. They survive things even we cannot survive. He paused, remembering the cold human voice that spoke in his dead ship. They are more dangerous than you think. The council members shifted nervously. One whispered, What do they want? Vrylock turned to them with a heavy expression. They want the war to end, and they will not stop until we surrender. A shockwave of anger moved around the room. Surrender? To humans? Never. They are weak, a small species. Vrylock exploded. That small species broke our whole fleet. The chamber froze. For the first time, the Empire had no answer. General Aya stood on the bridge of the human command ship Horizon 1. A blue glow from a new engines lit the room. Her fleet stretched across space, thousands of ships ready for battle. Are you sure about this plan, General? Malik asked. Aya nodded. The Zorth respect only strength. So today, we show them a strength they cannot imagine. The fleet approached the first Zorth defense line, 6 space stations and a ring of weapon towers. Normally, this would be impossible to pass. But today was different. Aya raised her hand. Activate Horizon Pulse. A soft hum moved through every human ship. Then a giant wave of blue light spread like a quiet storm across the battlefield. The Zorth stations flickered. Lights went dark. Cannons froze. Defense towers shut down. Within seconds, the entire border was silent. Malik whispered, We didn't fire a single shot. Aya answered, and that is what makes him afraid. Inside the Zorth capital, alarms echoed through the High Council chamber. A message blinked on the hologram. Human fleet at Sector 1. Defenses non-functional. The Council panicked. We must evacuate. Activate the planetary shield. Call every ship. But another message appeared. Planetary shield. Offline. Rithik turned to Vrylock in disbelief. This cannot be happening. Vrylock whispered, This is Horizon technology. It shuts down anything connected to our power grid. Rithik felt a cold terror move through his body. How did humans invent such a thing? Vrylock looked at him with a cruel smile. Because you pushed them too far. Aya stood at the front window of her command ship as the Zorth capital planet came into view. Its silver cities shined in the darkness. Millions lived there. Prepare the message, she ordered. A communication beam shot toward the planet. Inside the Zorth capital, every screen in the city flickered, then displayed the face of a human. General Aya. She spoke calmly, her voice echoing in every home, every ship, every hall of the Empire. Zorth Empire, your war is over. Rithik shouted at the screen. You dare speak to us like this? Aya continued, ignoring him. You attacked Earth. You destroyed our worlds. You hunted our species. But humanity endures. She leaned closer. And today, you face the consequence of making us your enemy. The city froze in silence. Aya finished. Surrender now, or lose everything. The council argued and shouted, but deep inside, they already knew the truth. The war was lost. Rithik lowered his head. Send our response. But before he could finish, another hologram appeared. A young Zorth officer entered the chamber. He looked terrified. Counselors, humans have landed. What? The officer swallowed. They are not here to attack. They are waiting for your answer. The chamber shook with fear. For the first time in the history of the Zorth Empire, they were the ones who had to choose between surrender or extinction. Everyone expected the Zorth Empire to fight until the last breath. Nobody expected what they did next. The Zorth High Council chamber was silent. No one spoke. No one moved. The message from the human fleet still echoed in their minds. Surrender now or lose everything. For the first time, the most feared empire in the galaxy faced a truth they never imagined. They were powerless. Commander Vrylok stared at the floor, ashamed. Counselor Rithik clenched his claws so hard the stone table cracked beneath him. The other council members whispered in panic. They shut down our fleets. They broke our shields. They reached our capital. They didn't even fire weapons. Fear tasted bitter in the air. The door opened suddenly. A young Zorth soldier rushed in, trembling. Counselors, the human ground forces are waiting outside the capital. They are not attacking. They are simply standing there. Rithik hissed. Standing there? Why? The soldier swallowed. Because they want your answer. That sentence hit the room like a shockwave. Humans, small, fragile humans, had brought the mighty Zorth Empire to a point where it had only two choices. Surrender or die. Vrylok finally lifted his head. We have no weapons left. No ships. If we resist, they will end us. Rithik closed his eyes. So, what do we do? The council remained speechless. Then a soft hum filled the chamber. A hologram activated. General Aya's calm face appeared. You have 1 hour to decide. Her voice was not angry, not violent, just cold and final. The hologram disappeared. The chamber fell into pure silence. Meanwhile, on the surface of the Zorth capital, Aya stood among her soldiers. Human troops formed silent lines, armored in Black Horizon suits. Their blue visors glowed softly in the alien sunlight. Thousands of Zorth civilians watched from a distance, confused and terrified. They expected humans to destroy the city, but nothing was burning. No shots were fired. No buildings were touched. Malik approached Aya. General, what if they refuse to surrender? Aya didn't blink. Then they choose their own ending. Malik nodded slowly, understanding her words. A young human soldier asked, Why aren't we attacking, General? They hurt our worlds. Aya looked at the Zorth civilians, watching them. We are not monsters, she said. We didn't come to destroy the galaxy. We came to stop the ones who wanted to destroy us. The soldier lowered his head with respect. Aya continued, If they surrender, we end the war without losing lives. If they do not, then we do what must be done. Behind her, the human fleet hovered in the sky like silent giants, dark shapes blocking half the light. Inside the council chamber, the debate finally reached its breaking point. Rithik stood. We surrender. Half the council gasped. Never. We are the Zorth Empire. Rithik shouted. We were the Zorth Empire. That age is over. Humanity ended it. Vrylok slowly nodded. They did what we could not imagine. They fought like a cornered beast, and then they became something more. Another counselor growled. If we surrender, everything we built will vanish. Vrylok looked at him sharply. If we do not surrender, everything we are will vanish. Slowly, one by one, the council members bowed their heads. The decision was made. The Empire would submit. Rithik stepped forward to send the message. His claws hovered over the console. His heart pounded. This single transmission would change the history of the galaxy. He pressed a button. A short message was sent to the human fleet orbiting the capital. The Zorth Empire surrenders. On the surface, Aya received the transmission. She stayed silent for a moment. Malik whispered, It's over? Aya exhaled for the first time in hours. Yes, it's over. She stepped forward as Zora's citizens watched with wide, confused eyes. Human soldiers stood tall. A single human voice carried across the entire city. The war has ended. No more worlds will fall. No more people will die. Far above them, the human fleet dimmed their engines. For the first time in months, the sky felt peaceful. A young Zora child peeked from behind a building, staring at the humans. I had noticed her and offered a small smile. The child blinked, surprised. She had expected monsters, not people. Aya whispered, "This is how peace begins." Back in the council chamber, Rithik sat down heavily. "We surrendered to humans." His voice sounded broken, but also relieved. Vrylok placed a hand on his shoulder. "We surrendered to survival." He looked out the window at the human ships glowing blue in the sky. "They conquered every world they touched," Vrylok said quietly, "until they made humanity their enemy." He exhaled slowly. "And that was a mistake that ended our empire.